Hello, welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina. Hope you're doing well on this chilly, rainy November day. November Rain kind of reminds me of Guns N' Roses back in the day, one of my favorite bands. So I just thought I'd pop in today for a little bit of a chat. Might as well get the plugs out of the way. Starlex, I have a nice copy. I did want to do this in hardback, and I probably will at some point, but for now it's on Amazon. I did have it on other platforms, but I took it down because, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I'm distributing it now. But for now, it's on Amazon in print and ebook. So far, the reviews have been very good, so I feel good about that. And then just yesterday, I made it to the final chapter of the first draft of the second book in the series. So if you go on my TikTok, you'll see that I get more into my writing process and all that boring stuff. Actually, it's not boring if you're a writer. I think you can probably relate. If you're not, you might want to skip it. Also, we still have a few copies of the Halloween issue of Bookworms left. They're all good, but this one is special. Especially love the Centerfold board game. They always have fun stuff in our Bookworms. And the new one will be out in January, and that is all about apocalyptic horror. And I'm still accepting submissions for that, and the deadline's January 10th. Check out my blog for details. All right, that's out of the way. So I went to the library the other day. I went wolf hunting in the library. Wolf hunt? Wolf safari? I'm looking for books about wolves for D.L. Tillery's reading challenge, Haunt and House. I'm going to write it here. I keep getting it wrong. And, I went into the library like hanging my head because the last time I had returned my books so late, I was going to try to sneak in without them noticing. But then the lovely librarian told me that they have an automatic renewal now, which is amazing. So I didn't have to pay my usual terrible overdue fines. My books are always late, but now I don't have to worry so much. So what did I find? I just kind of did like a wolf hunt and have no idea what these books are. So I'm going in cold. I am halfway through a wolf-themed romance, like a shifter romance with a Scottish kilt kink, I guess you could say, called The Wolf King. I forget the name of the author, but here are the books I got at the library. This one, I couldn't resist. A Bored Gay Werewolf by Tony Santorella. I think this could be fun with a title like that, but you never know. This one I just picked out because I was looking for children's books. I was trying to find one of my favorite books from when I was a kid called The Wolves of Willoughby Chase. It's a classic children's story. They didn't have it, so I'm going to order myself a copy of that. Maybe I'll find an old vintage copy. I love that book. But so I was in the children's section. I did find this. It's not about wolves. It looks like a ghost story, but I fell in love with this cover. This is called Out of the Wild Night by Blue Balliet. Look at that. I love going into the children's section of the library. Some of these books, like this is a children's book, but that's some pretty hefty prose here. And then this one is called Wolfish by Christine M. Andrews, another gorgeous cover. Now, I don't know if this is fulfilling any of the prompts, but I don't really think it matters. I'm going to try to read these. And here's another like young adult kind of book called Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. Pretty cool, huh? We don't have enough wolfy books. So I'm grateful for DL for doing this reading challenge. And now that I'm almost done my book, I'm going to take a little bit of a break from writing for a couple weeks and just do a lot of reading. I'm also working 2 shows at my theater, so I'm busy. I'm not pressuring myself with reading. So I'm reading this romantasy book about the wolves. And romantasy is an interesting genre that's really blown up. So many books. It's sort of like the way paranormal romance blew up years ago. And this is where most of the book sales are coming from. It's amazing. Because I just wrote a fantasy. Now I wouldn't say mine is a romantasy per se. I'm not sure how those 2 genres, the distinction, but mine's a fantasy with romantic themes versus a romance set in a fantasy world. I think that would be the distinction. In a romance, and I don't read that many romances, but I do read romance. I'm not a constant romance reader like a lot of people are. But in romance, the central story always revolves around the couple, the romance, whether it's a couple or a throuple or a love triangle or friends to lovers or whatever, that's the story, the main focus of the story. In Starlex, there is a romance, of the central character Starlax, but I have many different characters in this book and different romances going on among these different characters. So it's not just one central romance, but there's romance and all kinds of stuff like that in my book, but I would not categorize it as a romantasy per se. But I want to know more about this genre because maybe I'll write more in it and actually make some money on my books, which would be nice. Although that's never the motivation. I can't write a book just like that. I won't tell you my pen name that I tried writing some typical romances years ago to try to make that quick buck and never really was very successful at it. So that I just kind of keep that as a secret. But I'm open to these books. I've read a few. I like the Cassandra Clare books. Those might be considered more of a paranormal romance. I didn't get that far in the series, but I thought her books were good. So I'm open to reading new ones. I love reading, so I will read, I'll read any novel really, except extremely, I don't know. I don't think I'd read a novel like Hog, so, because I know what it's about. Something that is too much extreme horror, something I can't read that. But anyway, speaking of romantasy, there was this huge blow up, and I don't want to mix up any drama, but I did have some thoughts about this. There is a booktuber and whom I followed for a while. I've seen quite a few of her videos, and she's very popular, and she has a pretty big channel. Willow Talks Books. I think the last video I watched of hers was she did a really good video about Frankenstein. She knows a lot about the novel, and as it's one of my favorite novels, probably is my favorite novel, and I feel like I'm pretty well informed about it. I really enjoyed her video about that a couple weeks ago, but I didn't so much enjoy these videos she was putting up about really attacking romantasy readers. And she really was, because like in the thumbnail, I think the video is still up, she calls them idiots and very vehemently critiques not just the work, but the reader. And I think that was her mistake, because you're talking about a huge readership came out after her. And I just watched her latest video, and she's very fragile, taking a break because of her mental health. It's sad. And I don't wish anything bad to come of that for her. Look, it's a tough lesson. And it's a lesson I've learned years ago before I was on the internet, where I said something that I was passionate about, ended up insulting someone else. And, my friend James, whom I do bookworms with, and he won't mind me telling this because he put it out there on his channels. He just got fired from Apple. He worked there for 13 years, and he got fired for, I'm not going to repeat what the comment was. It was like an offhanded comment that he thought was funny, that the person receiving the comment took great offense at, and he was let go. And back in the old days, we handled things differently. I'm not saying it was always better. Try to deal with it like, hey, when you said that thing, I did find that kind of offensive, and I'm sorry I turned around and told you to F off, or whatever it is, and you work it out. In today's culture, especially with younger people, you are walking on eggshells. One off-color joke, comment about somebody's figure or whatever, done. So yeah, if you could maybe help out James, if you're sympathetic. He has a GoFundMe up. He's gotten some pretty good support so far. So I think he's going to be fine. He's going to bounce back, but it's hard because he has responsibilities. He also has some health issues, and now he has no health insurance. So it's really tough. So I was thinking about Willow. Like I said, I hope Willow's going to be okay. But the mistake I think Willow made was really hitting hard at the readers. This happened again not too long ago on Book Talk with another creator. I forget her name or their name. I don't want to get the pronoun wrong. Okay, so don't come after me. But I'm just going to say they to be safe. They went after Bro Book Talk or something about like bros who read, books about like bro things and how awful it was. First of all, it was like, bros read? I had no idea. I mean, my opinion is, if people are reading, that's a good thing. All I see are these articles about the illiteracy and no one's reading and the kids can't read, and that English majors at top universities have never read a book before. An English major, I could see a math major, but an English major? Come on. That they don't require them to read complete novels in high school anymore. If you're reading, that's a good thing. So yeah, it was a big brouhaha, but I think the lesson is there are perils to booktube and book talk if you're going to call a group of readers idiots and stupid and I think it was not the brightest bulbs or not the brightest sparks, I think was how she put it. And she did apologize and take it down. But when I saw her moving in that direction with her channel, I think I unsubscribed from her weeks ago because I don't like that kind of thing. And I think what happens, and Steve Donahue mentioned this a while back about if you, God forbid, try to make money on BookTube, you're chasing maybe the algorithm in like, wow, this one video of mine got so much response and a lot of engagement and I made more money on that one. But it was the one where I was like rage baiting, they call it. I'm just going to keep doing that. Like even unconsciously, I think you can just like, I'll just keep doing that thing that people like, even if it's not really making money. But like, hey, people like when I call people idiots. So I'm going to just keep doing that. And then it turns around and bites you on the behind really hard because people take offense. But in one of her videos, and I think this is when I hit the unsubscribe button, she was talking about how she will judge you if you like this book. You will be judged. And I was like so turned off by that. I'm like, judging someone for liking a book? I mean, the whole act of reading, it's a private thing between you and the book and you and the page. And sometimes we want to look at things that maybe we don't want to like discuss at the water cooler or over lunch with our colleagues, that maybe we shouldn't, or confronting some maybe personal trauma. I mean, I just finished listening to the audiobook of Flowers in the Attic again, and I got so much out of it this time. So I'll wrap this up and chat a little bit about that. But you should not be judged for the books that you read ever. I mean, unless you have like some political propaganda that you're trying to put out there, or like the anarchist cookbook or something that, is harmful. But what I see, there's like a popular booktube. I'm not going to name her. I actually watch her content once in a while, but she's always going off of this book is harmful. It's harmful. This is like the new word. Everything is harmful. Well, is it really? I just read a book and I did not like it. I didn't even post a review about it, where there was a trigger warning in the beginning about one of the characters had ADHD. If I hadn't seen that trigger warning, I never would have guessed. There was no trigger warning in Flowers in the Attic. And I'm kind of nostalgic for the time when we weren't looking at things like this is going to harm me. And it's like, just read the book. If you don't like it, if it's not to your taste, put it down and move on to a book that you do like and find an author you do like. But judging each other for what we read is really not the way to go. And I'm sorry that Willow kind of had to learn this the hard way. And I hope she's okay. I really do, because I do enjoy her regular content. Okay, so that's my little, rant, whatever you want to call it, just some thoughts about it. Okay, so Flowers in the Attic. I just listened to the 40th anniversary edition audiobook narrated by Mina Servari. I highly recommend it. It has a lovely introduction forward read by Gillian Flynn, who has said that V.C. Andrews' Flowers in the Attic in particular was a great influence on her. I've really loved Sharp Objects by her, and I can see the influence definitely in that book. And she's been a great influence on me, and I love, love, love this book. So it's fun to listen to it again. In fact, I think I got a lot more out of it. I felt less cynical reading it this time than I probably did the last time I read it. This was a book I read as a teenager and then read again, maybe once or twice since then, and now listen to the audiobook. So no trigger warnings in this story, but I will give a bit of a spoiler if you've never read this book and you don't know what happens. You should go in cold if you can. Mina Servari did an amazing job narrating this book. I had listened to her autobiography and I really fell in love with her voice. I think she was a perfect fit to narrate this story because she sounds a lot like Kathy. The part with Kathy and Christopher and their relationship, it still really bothers me with this question of, did Kathy really consent to that? And I think that this is a shadow that hangs over their relationship, kind of like Luke and Laura from General Hospital, for the rest of the series. And I do think V.C. Andrews is sensitive to that. Now, she claims that the publisher wanted her to spice the book up a little bit, and that's how she chose to do it. So yeah, I always feel a little traumatized by reading that part. And when I listen to these like young people now talking about, the trauma of the ADHD representation and how harmful it is, and then I'm like, yeah, but is there like a brother and sister doing it in the attic, and it's of questionable morality that's going on here. So yeah, that's what we're dealing with. And getting back to the romantasy thing, a lot of it is like, well, it's considered smut. I was at Barnes and Noble, and they even had a table, like a display table, and it's like it had the word smut, like your smut picks for the week kind of thing. So again, we shouldn't be judged by what we read. A lot of people enjoy this book and this series, and then a lot of people would never even go near this. There was, I think it's in Danse Macabre, a Stephen King's book, nonfiction book about horror. I think he goes on record by saying what a piece of trash he thinks this book is. But I don't recall him saying, but you're trashy if you read it. If I want to reread this book and this series and enjoy it and ignore these hundreds of books that I haven't read in my library, that's my right, and it's fine. Yes, read what you like. Don't let anyone shame you. Don't feel like you have to read something that's it's good for you, like it'll educate you and you make you a better citizen of the world. No, you don't have to. You can do that if you want, but you could probably do it in a better way than reading literature. There's plenty of great nonfiction out there that's going to elevate you. I just rewatched the entire Sex and the City TV series from beginning to end. Sometimes I just want to watch something like that. I watched The Hangover the other night, The Hangover 1 and Hangover 2, and laugh my damn ass off, let me tell you. So read a little trash, watch a little trash. I also like to read good stuff, classics. I'm going to watch the new Ken Burns documentary, so it's not all trash, but sometimes it's fun to read a little trash. Let me know in the comments below if you know what I'm talking about. If you have anything to add to the conversation, I would love to hear your thoughts, as always. And let me know if you read Flowers in the Attic and what you think. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for stopping by my haunted library, and I'll see you soon. Bye.